Hi, everybody. I just launched our webinar. Welcome. I'm Amy Knight, and I've got with me John Byrne. We're going to give it a minute before we get going to let everybody get jumped in, everybody that registered and is ready to attend. And while we're doing that, I'll get set up with presentation, all that technology stuff. So, all right, share screen. All right, well, that did it differently on my machine, but I think it works. John, do you see PowerPoint or do you see the main just slide?
PowerPoint.
Okay, well, that did not work on my side. Let me try that again. Let me go into, let me go ahead and put it in presentation mode. There we go.
Perfect.
Display settings, swap. Okay, now I need, okay, well, you'd think I've never done this before.
It is technology. It always throws you for a loop.
I know. I don't know why. So when I go into presentation mode, there it goes. Okay, now let me swap these. All right, and then let me see how many we've got in with us. And I want to open our Q&A panel. And it looks like most people are jumped in. So we'll get going. And one more. Where's chat? Okay, all set up. All right, welcome everybody. Again, my name is Amy Knight with Knight CPA Group. Oftentimes I forget to do introductions properly. This is the Wednesday Webcast. It's my new monthly series, trying to do the first Wednesday of every month with some new topic, guest speaker, maybe just me. So this is our second, actually on time. We did a bonus session last week. So today I've got with me John Byrne with Viventium. I like to say Viventium Payroll. Payroll's not really in their name, but that's what they do, Payroll, HCM, and I'll let him do his own introductions here in a moment. But we just want to talk about not just Viventium, the software platform, but really what we want to talk about from my perspective is why it is so important for home care providers, especially larger providers, really any provider, I don't even want to say just large providers, to really outsource your payroll. This is something that it's just absolutely a best practice. It does cost money, but it saves you money in the long run. The amount of staff it takes to run payroll versus what it costs you to have somebody else do it is there's a huge savings there typically. But more than that, I just want to get into why it's so important, and especially in our industry. And so what kind of brought this about is just through COVID, I've been on kind of a platform to where I've been talking to a lot of home care agencies and hospice agencies and providers, and I'm finding more and more that actually still do their own payroll in-house in QuickBooks. And I really didn't know there were that many out there that were still doing it that way. And it really, to me, slows down your growth, right? It also is slowing down your ability to progress with technology. And there's a lot of factors, but when you're on QuickBooks Payroll, you're probably in QuickBooks Desktop, and we got to get you to the cloud. We got to get you to the cloud. We got to get you moving, get you off servers and things like that. So it's a lot bigger discussion. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. A couple of housekeeping rules. We will absolutely do question and answer. We'll stay on as long as you want. We probably have 45 minutes, maybe an hour of material, and then we'll stay on and answer questions as long as you guys keep asking them. You know, I like to talk and I like to answer questions. And then If you have any questions, I beg you to please put them in the Q&A section. So on your little Zoom, if you hover over the bottom, there's a toolbar that'll come up and it says Q&A. If you click on that, it'll give you the question and answer panel. That way, it really helps me keep track of and make sure I get everything answered. So we'll do that. And then because it's hard for me to monitor chat, and if everybody puts it in chat, they kind of get lost. So that's all I've got. I'm going to turn it over to John and let John do a little introduction. I don't have a cool slide like this put together yet, but after seeing his, I'm like, okay, I've got fun facts, so I'm going to do that for myself next time. So John,
There
why
you
don't you
go.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much, Amy. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm with Viventium Health or Viventium Software. I'm a senior HCM sales specialist. So HCM, as you may know, human capital management. That's our platform is the whole suite of human capital management. I've been with Viventium for over 2 years now. I'm based in South Austin here for the Texas market. And yep, I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I helped open our office in Philadelphia in January of 2019. And I moved down to Austin to part of our expansion project here for our company. I'll go into a little bit of the history in a bit here of our company, but we are from the Northeast. That's why many of you may not know the name Viventium, but I'm sure it'll be soon enough where you do, since we are specialists in the industry. Just a couple fun facts about me. I have a pit bull mix named Ducky. You'd probably see him behind me if I didn't have a Zoom background on. He's always with me while I work, especially in COVID. You'd also probably see my electric guitar and bass guitar that I like to play in my spare time. And just a really random fun fact, with my family doing a bit of research, my 8th great grandfather actually was a colonel in the Revolutionary War and knew George Washington. He was at his house. So a little fun fact there.
That is cool. That is cool. And I failed to mention, but just in case I go on mute, I have 3 dogs in the office today. It's a long story, but they're here and they're quiet right now. So fingers crossed.
You never know.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about Viventium, the company?
Yeah. So I'll dig in a little bit. So we were founded in 1991 out of Brooklyn, New York. So been around for almost 30 years now. There is a family-owned, family-operated business, still privately owned, where it was a father-son that developed the proprietary payroll system. It was really geared towards just payroll for quite some time in the beginning stages. And it was really geared in just pretty much New York, northern New Jersey, just kind of that smaller niche area in the centered around Brooklyn. We started expanding in 2018, but before that we actually rebranded to Viventium, who we are today. So we were actually known as BDB Payroll up until 2016, where we revamped, redesigned the software, made it very intuitive, very user-friendly, kind of overhauled the user interface, and also at that point expanded to the whole human capital management suite of software, where we do, I'll go into more detail in a bit here, but we do everything from your applicant tracking, recruiting, payroll, and ACA tracking, learning management systems, as well as benefit administration for your benefit enrollment. So our headquarters is actually in New Jersey. We have 4 offices in the United States, and we are in that expansion mode. Like I mentioned, we solely service the home health services realm, where everything including home care, home health, hospice care, palliative care, pediatric care, therapy, a lot of skilled nursing, assisted living, community-based. So really the whole health services realm, where we found that the industry is very complex when it comes to payroll, and that's where we recognize that the capabilities of our software from a technology and functionality standpoint is very different from almost every other payroll system, where we'll be able to do the things that are important to you that no other system will do. From a technology standpoint, the backbone is a cloud-based system. It is a versionless system. So, whether you're 5 employees or 5,000 employees, everyone's on the same platform. We grow with you. We're very scalable to your business as you grow. We're also, like I said, versionless. So that all the development releases we have are pushed out through the back end of the software. So you never have to go through an upgrade, download anything, have any downtime, migrate to a new platform. One common, thing that you may know is that ADP, one of the major companies out there, been around forever, paved the way in the industry. They have separate platforms for every size company. So once you hit 50 employees, you have to migrate to a new platform. So, it's going to be a lot smoother through that entire process with our technology and way it's structured. The reason we found that we're very fit for the home health services industry is the fact that we are very, very flexible and configurable. And I've told Amy this, and I tell all my clients, when you think about the software that you're utilizing, you don't want to have to take that software and have all your processes be changed and have to work around what the capabilities of the software are. You want the software to be able to wrap around you and your company, your industry, and what you need out of the software. So we're the latter. So we're able to really be flexible around the needs of you. If you have a certain policy procedure, way you pay your employees in place, and you're doing all those calculations manually right now, 9 times out of 10, or maybe more than that, we can write a custom script and have all of those calculations automated for you. Two really common calculations, which we'll get into in a bit, are blended rate overtime and retroactive pay, are two calculations that we can automate. And since we're from New York, if anyone is familiar with the New York laws, there's a fun law called wage parity, which is a nightmare for a lot of agencies. It has to do with adding in supplemental wages. We have automated that calculation, making it so easy for agencies running in New York City. But that's pretty much the kind of backbone of where we come from. And Amy, we'll move on here and talk about a couple other things that pertain to our technology.
Okay. I want to dovetail on that a little bit. So those that know me know that I've been in the industry for a long time. Those that don't, that might be brand new to see in my face. I have been around. So I moved to Texas. I landed in home care accounting right out of college. Went to OU, lived in Oklahoma. I was born and bred OU Sooner. Still am in Austin, and I'm in Austin too. So, anyways, when I moved here, I launched the firm, and we also only work in home health, hospice, nursing home, assisted living. So I've been around a long time. The first thing I did, that was in '02, was I joined TAHC, the Texas Home Care Association, Home Care Hospice Association. And so what's funny is this year, we didn't get to meet in person, and we had a big annual meeting. So if you went to last year's TAHC annual meeting, we had the big gala, we had a big party. It was formal, it was so much fun. The live auction, Win out there dancing, if you remember that, so much fun. So anyways, I like to think of myself as a fixture of TAHC. I'm a vendor. I don't do every conference, but I always do winter and fall and whatever, and I'm on the committee. So then this year we go virtual. And so we're virtual and we're in this like exhibit hall. Well, as a vendor, one of the things I love about TAHC is networking with other vendors. And so anyways, I see this Viventium payroll specialist in home care. I'm like, what? I don't know these people. Who are they? Because, of course, I think I know everybody, which is so not true. So I popped over into their booth and I'm like, who are you? You're new in town, and you've got to kind of, let me know who you are. And anyways, just hit it off. So I talked with John. I said, dude, we got to schedule some time outside of this conference and let's talk some more. And so the reason I want to bring this is that, really when you're a large provider, I don't know anybody that specializes in home care payroll. I know other agencies or service providers that are doing a good job at it, but some of the stuff they do, I've not seen elsewhere. So before, and John, I hope I've got the right slide deck. I think it was the last one that we did. So I might be going out of order, but we'll just go with it. I kind of want to talk about like why I touched on it, the cost of outsourcing your payroll versus doing it in-house. Like, what does that look like? And that's a lot of times Hi, Merlita. This is great for you and all of your, I know you're ideal for this. So listen, so thanks for being here. Anyways, if you haven't yet outsourced your payroll, I wish I had a poll where I could do like a show of hands, right? Because I don't want, if everybody already outsources their payroll, then it's kind of a moot point. But yes, Merlita, this is a software. We're having a global talk about it, like what it means to outsource your payroll, what that looks like. But to cut to the chase, like this is a software that actually will connect to Vesta and pull all of your attendant hours directly and cut out the manual labor. So I just know your situation, or I knew it a few years ago. I haven't seen it lately. So anyways, but like when you start looking at outsourcing your payroll, why am I so like, why do I even care? I don't even do payroll services anymore, just to get that out in the open. We sold our payroll company a couple years ago, year and a half ago. And now through COVID, I can't tell you how many times I've counted my lessons for having not had payroll anymore, but it's so critical to your business. In our field, it is 70% of your cost. It's 75% of your, not effort, but it's just a big chunk of your back office. It takes a lot of time. And it's one of those things that, like in the accounting world, you know what, if I miscode an expense, a $20 expense, and I call it the wrong thing, nobody's getting upset. Or better yet, if your financial statements are a couple days late, okay, you might not be happy with me, but nobody's like crying in your office. If your payroll were 2 days late, you've got much bigger problems. Like your whole staff is screaming. But even if a check is $20 wrong because you didn't calculate somebody's retro pay right, they're going to be screaming in your office. And so payroll is such a intimate function in your agency that you want to get it right. But at the same time, you don't need to employ a staff of 1 or 2 or 3 to manage it when you've got software that can do it. Now, a lot of people think that you lose control, and you don't, because you still input it. And I think I've got a slide about this, and you that know me, I'm not good at staying on my slides. You don't lose control. You still are in charge of feeding the data to the system, however that's done, and then you review it before it's finalized. You need to know that is a step. I have clients that think that's not a step, and then they think they just correct it once payroll's run. That's not the way you do it. But it does everything on the back end. Once you've said, yeah, these hours are good to go, and you're just reviewing it from a report, they do all the tax compliance, they do all the tax filings. If you're paying your own taxes, and no, they don't do billing, and but they work with your billing software. But if you're doing your own tax compliance and doing your own tax payments, how many times have you paid a penalty because your staff didn't pay it on time? How many penalties have you paid because it's not done correctly? How much time is spent calculating your 941s, making sure they're right, and then tying out your W-2s at year end? Or did you even know that all of your W-2s have to equal all of your 941s, which needs to also balance to the 940 with some adjustments? Like, that's a very intricate process. It's time consuming. I know it. I know payroll intimately. ACA reporting, don't even get me started on that. I know that a lot of the people that have come to me that are doing payroll in QuickBooks didn't even know what ACA reporting is, and are having hundreds of thousands of dollars of penalty letters received now from 3 years ago. And that's a problem, right? So ACA is Obamacare. It's those 1095s. I don't do them anymore because they're so tedious. And then these work opportunity tax credits. Are you capitalizing on this? That is really for anybody that does attendant services. It's for anybody, but it really impacts your lower wage employees. But that's if you hire employees in a certain category, there's a step you do at the hiring process to certify them, but then you get a tax credit. John's got some slides on that. It can be tens of thousands of dollars a year, probably enough to pay for payroll services, right? So John did this great return on investment analysis, and I'm going to let him walk through that, even though it's a bunch of numbers, that's my thing. But walk us through that, John.
Yeah. I'm not going to bore you with all the numbers here. I just wanted to show a glimpse here of what we do. Obviously, Amy said that this service that we have is, it costs money. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be more expensive than your QuickBooks. But we want to show you, like, why are you investing this money into a software? What is it going to do for you, both functionally and financially? And we actually walk through each of our clients as they come on to show exactly what type of return they can expect from our software based off of doing the processes through our software versus what they were doing prior. So like Amy said, that the huge program for particularly your non-skilled, non-medical provider service, it is still something that you can capitalize on with skilled service, hospice care. Probably a little bit less of a percentage of your new hires are eligible for one of the credits, but really it's like Amy said, it's an employee that it takes a burden off of the federal government by hiring folks of different that fall into different categories. One could be welfare or food stamps. One could be a veteran or someone has a felony on their record. So it's alleviating a burden off of the federal government, and whichever category they fall into, it ranges from $2,400 the lowest credit to $9,600 at the highest credit. So taking a look, and I'm not sure if it's too small for anyone here, but on the top right there, you see your work opportunity tax credits. This is an example. This is actually a live return on investment analysis we did for one of my clients, a large client in the Austin area. They were hiring about 30 new hires per month. Of course, times your 12 months, about 360 new hires per year. We have found that it's actually between about 35 and 40% of new hires in the provider services non-skilled realm are eligible for one of these tax credits. So out of those 360 new hires throughout the entire year, 126 of them were eligible for one of the credits. Now, calculating just that minimum credit, that $2,400, these credits could be higher than that. We're looking at $302,000 of corporate tax credits coming back to the business. Now, there always is a filing charge per credit. We do a flat $399, whereas a lot of other companies that have any sort of service like this tracking it. I know from the last time I heard from a client, ADP, just as I always use them as a reference point since they're huge, they have a separate platform and their filing charge is about 20% of the credit. So if you were to happen to get that $9,600 credit, which I believe is the person that has a felony on their record, $7,200 is the veteran. They're getting $9,600, 20% of that. You're paying out $1,900 towards that credit. Now we're only charging $399. But so I take that in account for my calculation there as well, to see what's the real dollars coming back to you. $252,000. I mean, obviously that's going to cover the cost of your payroll. It more than, I think, triply covered the cost of any of their services. They went with just about our full suite of products, but yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. But it is a huge return. You can see some other calculations here that we do is the onboarding process, cutting down the time sitting down and training and going through and verifying data for onboarding, the time and the labor and the cost of that person that's actually doing all those manual processes, onboarding paper costs. The cost of paper is insane. There was actually a study that was done by HP that found it costs about $8 per page to buy, copy, print, scan, maintain printers, the whole kind of life cycle of having paper, storing the paper, costs about $8 per page. I always thought it was a little bit high, so I do my calculations a little bit lower. But for this agency, with the amount of new hires they have, they're looking at $350 per new hire with the amount of pages they have in onboarding, bringing back $126,000 in paper costs alone, just with all the packets that they're printing and their printer ink and maintenance and all of that.
And
Pretty
paper
astounding.
is so heavy to me. We've
Yeah.
been paperless for a long time, but we're super paperless now. We almost are at a point we don't even need printers. Of course, we got to have one or two, but oh, it's just so heavy. So getting that all out of your office, can you imagine? And I know you guys, I actually probably need to do one of my webcasts on that, like going paperless. It's a big hurdle. Like actually a mind thing, but man, once you do, you feel so light and so airy. That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that would be a great webcast. I think that's because I don't you don't know how many times I've heard an owner say, we're trying to go paperless, we're trying to go digital. It's a huge thing in this industry, in this day and age. Things are moving from the archaic age into the digital age, and it's time to move to that direction.
Yeah, and especially after this COVID experience, right? So like if your onboarding process was automated, and so what that means um, is, and I be open, I don't use Viventium for our payroll, but I use a payroll service, even though I know payroll inside and out. I don't even do my own payroll, you guys. So I'm serious about outsourcing your payroll. What I do is I have an onboarding process where I enter their name, first name, last name, start date, email address, and that's all. I enter that. It sends them an email. You got to use a personal email. They do everything else. They take a picture of their driver's license. They fill out the I-9, the W-9, all or W-4, whatever. I then get a notice, hey, so and so is onboarded, and I just go review it and I fill in their, full-time, part-time, fill in their salary, and that's about it. I don't have to. That's it. That's the whole onboarding system. So if you don't know, I think sometimes we get caught up using terms and talking about things, for lack of a professional word, that gets thrown around and we don't explain it. That's what electronic onboarding looks like. And it's really slick.
Yeah, we're actually going to show the onboarding platform
Okay.
a little bit later. So yeah, we'll dive into that a bit more. If you want to jump to the next slide there, just to look at the total return on investment that
The
this
next
age.
slide seems to be blank. So sorry about that.
You want to try click it again? There you
Yeah,
go.
we just had a blank page in there. It's on.
Perfect. So this is the actual total return on investment for this agency. Breaking down, there's quite a few more items that we broke down as far as time savings, cost savings. They were saving $420,000 by moving over to our platform.
Now this was a
Yeah,
large agency,
almost
right?
almost 700 total employees on payroll.
Well, that's a good, I mean, that is large, don't get me wrong, but I think we might, I don't see exactly who's in right now. I see one that I think is about that size. So without knowing, I don't know everybody here. So awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and you're looking at 884 hours of time saved over the year. I'm sure there's other things. The return on investment isn't always every single little thing that you're doing, but as you're using the software, as my clients are using the software, they're like, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
All those things go into that return on investment as far as the hours and time saved. That number is probably way higher. But think of all the things that you could do with that time, marketing efforts, growth efforts, opening a new office, something that you wanting to get into, Medicare or, VA services, anything that you've been looking to do for a year or 2 or 3 years, and you're like, I just don't have time to do it.
Yep.
Now's the time. You're going to have that time. Not saying that you always have to, fire anyone because you don't need their services anymore. We never
Right.
want that to happen. Maybe that's what you want to do, but you're looking for an excuse to get rid of someone. But those people that are very valuable to your organization, that are doing mundane tasks, administrative tasks, they're just so tedious, cumbersome, aren't revenue generating tasks. Those are the things that we're going to bring that time back in your organization to be able to, reallocate that time. Maybe you're so behind on your ARs and your billing that you're just struggling to get the money in, but you have a whole person dedicated that can really focus in on getting that straightened up. So, those are just some examples that we see, that we're trying to align with our clients.
I do have a quick question over in chat. It says, how do we get more information about the company and software? We will definitely be following up. And I always forget to put this in. There will be a recording of the webinar for anybody that registered. Actually, it's for anybody. I record all of my webinars. Everything I do is free. I'm not trying to make money on doing webinars. I'm trying to share information. It always goes on YouTube, so you can share it with your friends, but we will definitely follow up, reach out with a follow-up email. You'll get one from me automatically out of Zoom that has a link to the video and a link to the slides, which at the end does have John's info. And I'm sure that John will also follow up with everybody, just as a thank you. So everybody's got all of our contact info. So we will definitely follow up with you. And on that, about like repurposing people, you know, because sometimes that's a very delicate situation where, like I've got one prospective client that I happen to know very well, and I'm trying to talk. So for our services, accounting and they've got somebody key that does all the accounting and pays all the bills, and they're going to be a large multi-provider number company. And I said, yeah, but you can elevate her. We're not trying to eliminate her. You can elevate that person into another position, into more profit, revenue generating, or even just better processes, whatever. And so on that, and kind of to go with Merlita's question of do you do billing, here's my vision. And I actually had this conversation with a prospect yesterday. Your back office, in my opinion, is really billing, accounting, and payroll HR. Those are three different functions this is my professional opinion. And that encompasses your entire back office. So I think outsourcing payroll is your number one must. If you come to me and you're a brand new agency or you're starting an agency, that's the first thing I tell you. You do not need accounting right out of the gates. We can always do your accounting like after the fact. Like once you get licensed, you guys know how long that takes. You get licensed and certified, you start getting your money in. Then we can go back and catch up all the accounting and then get going with monthly accounting services. But in the get-go, you outsource payroll first. So to me, that's the first thing you outsource. Secondly, it's easy to outsource accounting. Lastly, I recommend billing to really maintain in-house if at all possible. There are kind of a lot of horror stories, and that doesn't mean there's not good billing agencies out there, and I need to be very careful about that. If you're smaller, outsourcing billing sometimes works, but sometimes there's a lag in billing. And so my thought is, if you can outsource payroll and get that burden off of you, repurpose those people over into the billing side. I think as you're larger, billing really needs to be done in-house. So you've got real-time control of that. And that I think will help. So speaking of control, I'm going to jump to my next slide. Let me click back on it. One of the challenges or what do you call the obstacles that gets presented when people talk about, when I'm trying to tell people to outsource payroll, and this comes from my payroll days, is, I need to have control of my payroll. I'm the only one that knows what everybody needs to be paid. And I'm the only one that knows, I can't trust Kinzer to be right. And I want to you don't lose control of that. Somebody still has to feed the payroll system the data to be paid. So you don't lose control of that. And then you feed the system and then it says, okay, this is what you just put in there. Is that correct? You review all of that before you hit, hey, this is good to go. Okay, so you don't lose control. It just removes so much back in. And it's one of those things, you guys, that I feel like you don't know how much, like John was saying, you don't know how much time you spend on it until you either do a very serious time study or you outsource it and you're like, wow. And in my experience, so we sold our payroll portion of the business. Well, so we spun payroll out of the firm a few years ago, rebranded it. My clients, bless their hearts, lived with me through all that. John, we went with ADP for a hot minute. So you've never talked to anybody that dislikes ADP more than myself. Just saying. I mean, I had a client crying, begging me, Amy, this is not going to work. So we immediately transferred everybody back. Long story. When I sold payroll, I had a realization moment one time, and I said, okay, payroll is taking 80% of my time, and it's losing money, and the firm is suffering because of it. That's what happened in my experience. As I've got to sell it, and you know me, I make decisions quick, and I move quicker. So I sold it. That deal was done in 30 days, and we were transferring it. Excuse me. So when I did that, even knowing it took 80% of my time, I think it was taking 95% of my time. After it's gone, like before I did that, y'all, I was ready to retire. I talked to brokers about selling the firm. I was so burned out. After I sold that, and it was only, I don't know, a few months after we finished the transition, man, I could breathe. I was energized. I was fired up. I was like, no, I'm not selling anything. This is fun. I love working with these people, my clients and everything. And so it was great. And somebody else said they feel the same way about ADP and will never use them again. And I get it. It's like once you've been there, you never go back. So that's what I try to tell people. People coming into us for accounting services, they might be on ADP, and I tell them, I said, look, I can work with it, but just know that when you're to that point that you're unhappy, there are alternatives with the same degree of technology. Because a lot of people think ADP is the only one with good technology, and just the people that run it kind of suck, for lack of a better word. There are good companies with good quality software with all those bells and whistles. Like this one right here will scale with you from small to large, and there are others as well. So it's you do not have to be pigeonholed into ADP. Um, let's get into this, John. These are
Yeah.
some real key differentiators with Viventium specifically.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on one other thing as you were talking. We talk about ADP a lot. There's a lot of other payroll companies out there, but the main ones that people think of when they think of outsourcing payroll are ADP, Paychecks. There's a couple other big ones out there, but there's a lot of times a bad taste in their mouth from a provider like that because there's been so many issues, so many problems, and it's tough to get away from that stigma. But when you think about these processes and how long it takes your staff and or you to do these processes, depending how big you are, you probably have people under you. If we have a lot of owners and administrators in the chat here today, but maybe take some time and ask your people, your HR person, your payroll person, and if someone else is doing these tasks for you, like, hey, what are two or three of the hardest things and most time consuming things in your day? Just pick their brain. Like, just what is the most difficult thing? And they say, oh, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. And if you think that can't be solved, that no one can do that, you're probably wrong, because our system can do just about everything that you think cannot be done. It's Amy, I think when we first spoke and I showed you how we can automate, one of the things on this screen here is blended rate overtime. That's when you have caregivers, nurses, providers working multiple different cases. Those cases might be paid at different rates. Maybe it's a shift differential, maybe it's a more difficult case, heavy lifting, far trip, something like that, or it's just a different type of reimbursement, and then they hit overtime. Well, you have to typically manually calculate the weighted average of all those rates per FLSA overtime guidelines in order to stay in compliance. You'd have to do a weighted average of all the rates that they worked, how many hours they worked of each in that pay period. And a lot of agencies I've talked to are either manually calculating themselves or they are relying on their payroll system, which can't do it. Honestly, I've never seen another payroll system that can do that calculation on the payroll side. We're the only ones that have automated that. So those are things that our system can do that are completely different. So talking about the first point on this screen here, the agency management system or EMR system, whatever you may be using. I see some examples here: your ClearCares, Cantime, Vesta, AlayaCare. We have built custom integrations with these platforms that are common in the industry, and if you don't see the one that you're using on there, most likely we either have worked with them or can work with them. So pretty much what that we do is we custom map the export file that comes from that system. It's usually an Excel file or CSV file, and we custom map that file over to our payroll system, which I'll show you during our demo, so that everything is just cleanly imported over into payroll. So we're not just pulling bulk hours like 40 hours worked, 5 hours of overtime, and you have no idea where that information is, what's that's pertaining to as far as visits or cases. We're actually pulling in all 6 data points from electronic visit verification. And if you say, hey, we're not using EVV, we're pulling any data that's coming from that export. So we're talking your date of service, your visit date, we're talking your clock in and clock out times. If you're doing a per visit, type of a business where you're just paying on per visits, we're pulling in the units and the visit rates. We pull in your patient name, so who the provider is taking care of during that visit. We're displaying that on our employee memo. And of course, your rates, your hours. We have unlimited earnings codes. So whether you have live-in cases, on-call cases, night or weekend shift differential, different types of therapy or gosh, the list goes on. Whatever your needs are, we're going to have those programmed in the system. We're going to display on even on our pay stub and in the payroll system what type of a pay or service they were providing during that visit. So really powerful to have both systems match. Not only are we creating a custom pay stub, which I'll show you in a moment here, of all that data broken out, which is very visible to your employees, but also it's very auditable information. We actually partner with Littler Law Firm, and I'm not sure, some people may be or may not be familiar with them. They are a nationally recognized wage and hour law firm. They specialize in labor law, and they actually have an arm and specialty in home care.
Yeah.
They have, if you go to their website, littler.com, they have a home care kit as well, toolkit. So we partner with them a lot, and we've had conferences and webinars where they said, hey, if you ever have a wage and hour dispute come to you, all you need is the information that Viventium's pulling in their payroll system to prove that that you've paid them on time and correctly. So yeah, it's very powerful what our system can do by pulling in all that data. So the main key that our system can do these calculations off of is the fact that we have your charge date or your visit date in our system. I showed Amy some of the reporting recently, and there's a report that she needs to build out all the time, and it's nearly impossible to calculate, and it's so much manual work. We have the visit date in our system, and I built the report for her in about 2 minutes or less.
Yeah, and that was for a cost report. He said, all right, what do you need for cost reporting? And I watched him, and it was, it's going to take a little training, but probably maybe 30 minutes of training. It was like,
Yeah.
you have all your fields. It was drag and drop. It was super simple. And it's 10:40. I'm keeping an eye on it. It's 10:41. Keeping an eye on the clock because we do want to spend some time looking at the system.
Yeah.
But I want to say this as we're going through this, audience, guys, how awesome is it to just talk to a payroll guy that knows your language? That's what stands out to me. I know that we had somebody come to us back in the payroll days, and they were like, oh, I just had to take all my visit pay of all the different types, manually calculate it and put it in there. I said, look, I don't want my clients doing math. So we're going to give you every single pay type, right? But just the fact that they know your language. So that's really good. You want to jump onto that custom pay stub?
Yeah, let's jump there. And just to piggyback off of that, we're not just reps, trying to sling payroll software left and right. We literally are more of a consultant in the industry. I mean, we understand the industry through and through. We are a member of TAHC. We're a member of NAC. We attend conferences. When we were in Pennsylvania, we were part of PHS or PHA. I'm sorry. We're heavily involved in this industry. And for instance, when we were at PHA, which is the sort of the TAC of Pennsylvania, we had a booth there, probably similar to what we would have if this wasn't virtual this year in Texas. And we were the only payroll provider there. We're like, where are all the payroll providers? Like, no one cares about this industry. Now, there were a couple payroll providers here at TAC, but talking to Amy, she knows those payroll providers and they can't do some of the things we do. Here's an example of our pay stub. And again, I apologize if this is a small screenshot here, but as you see, we break down line by line each individual charge date or visit date. In that memo section there, you see the patient's name, first name, last initial, and our pay stub is completely customized. You can, put in or subtract any of this information if you would like to see it. We have type of service. We have our clock in, clock out times. We have hours and rates. Again, if you're a per visit pay agency, then you're going to have, instead of hours, it'll be units. Your rate will be your visit rates and your amounts. And then you have a whole separate section there to show. And Amy, actually, if you want to click one more, I believe I have an animation.
And I want to answer Marcy real quick. She says patient name. So it's only first name, last initial.
Go last one. Go back a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But,
yeah, first name, last initial. You can customize what you see in there so that it's not easily identifiable of who that person is. We'll never put first name, last name fully. We'll put whatever you want to see. Even if you just want to see first name, we can do that. Whatever you like.
And yes, there have been talks about working with Kinzer Well Sky. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So first little arrow there is the overtime premium. That's how we calculate the blended rate overtime. So that's actually that extra 0.5 of overtime. When you think of overtime, it's 1.5. So you have your overtime rate, which is right above that overtime premium, OT premium line. And then the OT premium is that blended rate calculated, weighting the average of the regular rates worked based on the number of hours they worked at each rate. And that's going to spit out that 0.5. And we're doing that right in the back end of the system. There's no calculation needed. You literally put in the information, and I'll show you how it's done in the software. Then that separate section there is your old hourly or retro pay. So when you're entering in hours from a previous pay period for something that was missed, late timesheet, whatnot, we are automatically calculating whether there's overtime warranted for that previous pay period. You know, Ms. Jones worked 37 hours 2 weeks ago. She is missing 5 hours. We're going to automatically assign 3 hours of regular pay, 2 hours of overtime pay. And if she worked multiple rates in that same pay period, it's going to show the overtime premium there as well. So it's calculating all that in the back end of the system and displaying it on the pay stub.
I want to point this out because when we met and he told me they could do retro overtime, yada, 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 I was like, holy cow, this is one of those things. Yeah, there is already a sync with AliaCare. And by the way, my AliaCare friend just texted me, so she must have felt our energy, John. Erin texted me. She's like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm like, talk to you later. But what hit me here was like, I never even thought of this, like retro time. You're paying it now. Maybe they're not in overtime this pay period, but what if they were in the pay period when they worked it? You owe them overtime just because it's getting paid late. That's what he's talking about this old hourly overtime. It's looking at that old period when it should have been paid, when it was actually worked, to calculate that. And that's one of those things that I don't know anybody else that does that. And I'm going to go a step further. I didn't even think about it. Like I didn't even think about that being an issue, but that's an issue.
Yeah, yeah. I did see a comment there about your software have a way for the client to sign the timesheet. So the timesheet will be still in your agency management or EMR system. We're solely working with that timesheet and pulling the information in a payroll. So if you think about the flow of your company, you have like your scheduling that it's going to show what you want your employees to work. Then you have your actually what they worked. You know, that maybe they clocked in by EVV. The timesheet, you know, maybe it's a paper timesheet, maybe they type in their time, and then you have to pay them based off that time. Well, that's payroll, and then you have to bill for that time. So we are in between your timekeeping and your billing. So we are the closest thing that you'll ever have in this industry to having one fluid system from beginning to end because of the way we integrate with your timekeeping system, pulling that information in, having it match, being able to pay your employees properly. And I'm going to show you that process. It's super easy. And like Amy said, you're going to do your typical your verification of hours versus the schedule, make any adjustments. You're going to do that in your Can Times, ClearCare's, Vestas still. And then once that information's done, you're going to pull into payroll and you're done. But yeah, we can move on unless anyone has any questions about the pay stub.
Let me see if I can click. Okay.
Yeah, so before we dive into the software, I just want to give a quick overview because we're not going to go through all of these, but this is the breadth of our service, all of our solutions. And the beauty about our system is it's a la carte. So each one of these modules are individual, and you can pick and choose which ones are going to be best for you. So we'll do a full analysis, during meetings with your agency and ownership. We'll see what's the necessities, what are the nice to haves, and we will show those on a custom pricing proposal. Every pricing proposal is custom to every company, so it's it's going to be really specific to you. Now, just kind of running through these. Of course, we have applicant tracking, which is your recruiting system. That will be your the ability to push out a job post to different job boards. It's all going to funnel into one area where you can work through a custom workflow of your interview process. That workflow, could be a phone screen, in person, reference check, background check. You're going to customize that. We can send out automated emails, move them through the process, have all their information in there easily to view, saves their profile in there for later in case you don't hire them now, but you want to hire them later. And then that'll move them into onboarding. So you have our onboarding platform. Totally digitizes everything. We're going to go through that in more detail during our demo. We have our time and attendance platform. We used to work a lot in other shift-based industries like manufacturing, skilled labor, restaurants, anything like that. Where we still have this platform. It's very, very robust, but not many of my agencies utilize it because you're using your Vestas and ClearCares and Can Times. Some of my agencies, larger ones, who have a larger administrative staff, 20, 30, 40 people, they may want them to clock in and out by a web-based clock, and that's what they would typically utilize that for. Of course, we have our core payroll. That's what we're here for. Business intelligence is a custom reporting tool. That's what I showed Amy last week. And it's also in conjunction with an analytics dashboard that pulls in information on your payroll, your attrition, your demographic information, and also tracks your COVID-19 deferral credits for sick time or sick leave, childcare, and retention credits. Benefit administration is a newer proprietary system that we released mid this year. That's your benefit enrollment. So whether it's a new hire or your open enrollment period, we have that completely digitized where they can log in, employees can log into their app and make their selections, see all the information they need to make their decisions. It sends it over to the administrator. Once all it's approved and the open enrollment's closed, all the deductions are automatically created in that employee's profile for those benefits. Human resources is a great tool that we have. It's an advisory tool for particularly companies that maybe aren't quite as big, so they don't have all the staff around their HR. Maybe they have one person running HR, and that person is running thin. If they need that additional support, they don't have time to research new policies, laws, update their handbook, update their job descriptions, everything. They just need advice on a certain situation that popped up. They're like, I don't know how to handle this. This is a great tool for that. It's you have an on-demand service where you have a team of SHRM certified professionals at your disposal to help you answer those questions by phone call or email. Or a complete version is a dedicated rep to you that does a full audit on your company to identify gaps in compliance, close those gaps, monthly meetings, goals meetings, and really it's like an extension of your HR department without having to pay a full salaried employee to add another person in your HR department. We have our employee self-service app, very great tool. If you go in on your cell phone right now and downloaded your Viventium app, it would have the access for your employees for their pay stubs, their PTO or sick time requests. You can push out documents to them like new policies or handbooks. They can change their demographic information. They can change their home address, phone number, emergency contact, dependent information, even add in their own direct deposits and this is all for administrative or HR approval. We are tracking, like Amy said, your Affordable Care Act, your ACA tracking. We'll get into that a little bit deeper, what that looks like, but we're tracking your measurement periods, affordability, and offers and waivers. And we recently partnered with a really exciting partner called Navon. It's our learning management system for in-service trainings. The owner of this developed this proprietary system based off of the fact that he struggled with the in-service training when he owned a 6,000 employee agency in New York City. He developed this, and it's completely for this industry, and being able to digitally perform trainings, not have to schedule in-class, in-person trainings for all of your employees, coordinate them all, take them out of the field, hire either your internal RN or an outside RN to do those trainings. It's all integrated in our employee self-service app where they can do their trainings digitally and track everything. And then a couple cool financial flexibility tools we have. We integrate with an API to daily pay if your employees want to get paid on a daily basis, usually for our larger clients. We also have pay cards where you can have employees have almost a direct deposit onto a pay card if they don't have a bank account. So a lot of cool options there. But that's, again, the breadth of our service. I don't know, Amy, if you had any comments on that before we get into our demo.
No, but I do have a question. There are a few questions popping up. So can you work with Access? I think the answer is yes. Not AXIC, I mean IS, but AXXESS.
So Access with two X's is one that we recently tried to work with, and their capabilities are very short.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one that is very difficult to work with. We haven't really had any successful workarounds up to this point. I don't know if anything can change, but if they're willing to work with the type of file that they can export that would work with our system, that is literally one of the only ones I've ever heard of that we don't have a great capability with.
That's interesting because they are a spinoff. I mean, I'm spreading rumors, but they're a spinoff of Kinzer, really. So I'm surprised they don't have the same
Yeah.
capabilities. I'd be surprised if they were unwilling to work with you if they had a little bit of demand. So I know the individual asking this question. That's interesting, Emmanuel. You might talk to them and say, "Hey, this payroll company is working with everybody else. What's your problem?" and see what they
Yeah.
say. That's interesting. I'm glad I asked you instead of just thinking I knew the
Oh
answer.
yeah. No, I want to be completely transparent. I mean, it's really a matter of, is that file that's being exported from your agency management or EMR system already ready to work with, and we can just map it in. Like I could do it right now if there's a good Excel file, I can map it in. I could show you how to do it in our software. It's easy. Sometimes some formatting needs to be tweaked, like maybe the time format, maybe the employee name, maybe an employee ID number is totally missing from that export, and we need to identify better. So it's going to be a case by case basis, but there are several that we've already worked with that we know we have great capabilities with that we're on that list, and there are a few more that were on that list.
Okay. What job posting sites do you, so on the applicant tracking, are you doing job postings to different sites?
So yeah, it'll blast out to any job site that you have an account with. Could be even social media, your Twitters, Facebooks. We have free postings through Indeed, Glassdoor, Google Jobs, and Facebook Jobs. And then if you want those sponsored premium posts, we get discounted negotiated rates for the ones that get your post to the top with Indeed, Career Builder, and Monster.
Awesome.
So really, it's a wide range of places that you can blast your post to.
And then
And
I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it again. So employees retain access to their check stubs W-2 even after termination?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
they'll always have access to that information because that's your information.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, let's
That's your data.
let's go on to that. Oh, whoops. Let me back up. So then I'll start sharing and let you share. And guys,
Cool.
we're going to go longer, but we want to show you this. So yeah, obviously this is a come and go as you please. Let me
Yeah.
close that. Okay, you can share your screen now, I think.
All right. Okay. Let's see here. Everyone, do you see that there, Amy?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So again, I'm not going to go through every module. I think what we'll hit today, just so everyone knows, I'm going to cover payroll. I'm going to cover ACA tracking, and then I'm going to cover the electronic onboarding. If you want to, schedule some time with me to see the rest of the software, I'd be happy to schedule that out and talk a little bit further with you. We'll talk about that at the end of the session here. But just to kind of introduce the software here, this is your dashboard. But we're going to hop right into the payroll side of the software. So very easy. You'll open up your new payroll. We'll start a new payroll. Just because this is a live demo environment, I'm going to switch over to our home health demo, and we're going to go into this pay period. So once you open up your new pay period, you're going to get your payroll grid. Now, this payroll grid is completely customized to you. So there's no data in here right now. This is you starting a new payroll batch. But here you see you have your first name, last name, charge date or visit date, your rate code, if you want a temporary rate code for specific reasons. Internal memo will be your patient name. And then you have your regular hours, old hours, clock in, clock out. We also have different templates of different views that you can save if you want to see different information, and you really can pull in a lot of information to view in your payroll grid. It's again completely customized to you. But this is a blank payroll. You're ready to run your payroll. You did your checks and balances over in your agency management system. Maybe it's Vesta. You verified everything, got all your missing punches out of the way. You have it ready to roll for your payroll. All you need to do when it comes to payroll is, first of all, export the file from your agency management system. For instance, if any of you have can time, if you go to payroll export, you'll see Viventium in that payroll export dropdown. We have an integration with their enterprise platform, hospice platform, and private duty platform. So as you see here, you click import your time clock, and you'll see a drop down of quite a few imports, but we're gonna, in our demo, just use our demo import because it's not specifically mapped for your agency management system, but you would find your Excel file, your export file that you'd saved from your agency management system, and you'd pull that, you just kind of drag and drop it into your upload. Of course, you want to create a new batch, and then you go and import. So all that information that's in your file is going to be mapped over, and it's going to display it right here. Now, this is only a few employees. It will upload, 1,000 employees if you have 1,000 employees. But here you'll see a few different things. So of course you have your charge date, you have your patient name, the number of hours, you have your old hours or retro pay, and then you have your rate. So just to take Jalea Norman here, for example, she worked just over 40 hours. I think it's about 41 point some change. So she's going to get some overtime, right? And she worked $25, then she worked $28. Now, of course, that's going to warrant an overtime premium or a blended rate overtime because she worked multiple rates and she hit overtime. So another thing that we have in this same line item here, an extra line item here that she took care of Jake back on January 1st. I know it's a long time ago, but we're going to pay her on that paycheck for 6 hours and at $25 an hour. That's what she was making. So we're going to, in the same payroll, pay for this week and a retro pay. Now, just to show you, what's going to happen in the system, you don't have to do this every time, but I'm going to jump into the employee profile by clicking this dot here. We're going to go into Jalea Norman's profile, and that's going to open up a new page. It's going to hop into our HRIS system, her employee profile. We're not going to jump into, all the details of this profile at the moment, but we'll go into her pay history, and then we'll see her checks here. So looks like on the January 10th check date, she had worked 39 hours already, got paid for that. So even if you want to hop into that check, that pay period is December 28th to January 1st, 2020. So if we hop back into payroll, we see that this January 1st is going to fall into that pay period, right? And we're paying her for 6 unpaid hours. So if we preview this check, which you can preview, your taxes, deductions, everything before you even run payroll for any check, just to see the information. You see your gross wages. You see a lot here that I'm going to break down. So every single charge date for this current pay period down to April 22nd, you're going to see the old hourly pay for that January 1st. It's going to automatically recognize that 1 hour is paid at regular pay. And then the overtime is going to kick in for the other 5 hours. And then we're going to see 2 overtime premiums, one for this pay period. She had worked multiple rates and we had to blend the rates at 23.39. That's the extra 0.5. And then also back on that previous pay period, she had worked multiple rates and we're blending and paying that. So literally about 4 calculations are being done right in the back end of the system. I didn't have to calculate anything. I just typed in the numbers or not even typed in. We pulled it from your agency management system, and that information's automatically done for you. Now, just to show you how easily this is calculating in the system, let's take a look at 23.39. If we remember that from this pay period is her overtime. Let's just change some of her rates. So maybe you should work 28, and then these two, maybe she work 35. So that's going to obviously go up. We can preview her check again. It's going to recalculate everything. And boom, we have at 27.28 now. It's doing that calculation right here for me. Hopefully everyone's like, wow, that's pretty cool. I know I can't hear you, but I don't believe anyone that has ever seen something like that. Amy, maybe you can vouch for everyone that that's not capable in any other payroll system.
Yeah, no, I haven't. Like I said, I didn't even know it existed, but when you said that, I was like, oh, wow, I've never even thought about that being an issue. So, yep.
So I'm sure there's a lot of other questions about the capabilities of our payroll, adding a second check, adding bonuses, all that information. That's, something I could show on a further demo, but just wanted to kind of show the high points here of our payroll. Once everything's pulled in here, you can do your checks and balances. In this import, you can import your approved time off, which is pulling from our system. So you just pull that in, boom, your PTO's in there. You can do your payroll preview, there's checks and balances in there. We have red flags. I'll quickly show that. We have, warning flags, different things that you would want to check out in case something might be entered incorrectly. Here's a lot of warning flags, but invalid social security numbers, the charge date's invalid, in and out's invalid. You can have different thresholds. Maybe they're being paid too much. You might have had an extra zero in there by accident. So you want to make sure you check that out before you preview your payroll. And then we're going to have your full payroll journal here, breaking out every single pay, and then all the summary as well.
Does it show on the summary? Wow, that looks a lot like ADP right there.
There's actually about 10 different views you can export from there.
Does it show? So it's showing gross to net, because does it show? It shows totals, because that's kind of something I've seen in some of the I don't want to say lower end, but like smaller range payroll providers, like what my payroll system was that I used. We couldn't do. It was very hard to do, especially instantly. Actually, they couldn't. Like, they had to send us payroll. We had to run it. Then they could go check their preview. So they couldn't input it themselves and check their preview right then to say, yeah, this looks good. I know what my total payroll generally runs. This is good to go. So
yeah,
there it is. Okay.
I won't jump into everything, but that was just one. That was the default preview. But like I said, there's about 10 different previews that you can run before you run your payroll.
All right, cool.
There's even more, I believe. View more reports. Cool. So that's our payroll system. You just process the payroll from there. We do check delivery. We do your direct deposits. Obviously, that's all included in the service. You don't have to pay for direct deposits. We have your pay cards we can deposit to, and we just to answer any maybe probing questions. We have about a 2-day leeway, like any typical payroll company. If you're paying on a Friday, direct deposits go in very early on a Friday. You would process your payroll Wednesday by 5 p.m. Your delivery would come next day FedEx by the next day around 10 a.m. So you get on Thursday.
Can you answer that one question that's there in Q&A? Can you see it?
Oh, you know what? I
can read
my
it.
view because of the shared screen. Yeah, what is it?
And I know sales guys hate this question, but I think it's valid. We understand everybody is different and everybody's going to have different pieces, but can you give us just a simple pricing? Is it per check? Is it a base per check? Is it a base PEPM, like per employee per month?
Yeah.
Just kind of a range of just a reference point to start with.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. So payroll obviously has a lot included.
Payroll.
Yeah, like it has direct deposit as tax service. It has your employee self-service app. It has the HRIS system. So, all those calculations, the custom pay stubs, that's all included. So it's a base fee to process your payroll. So each time you process, whether you're, weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, each time you'll have a base charge to run, and then you'll have we call it per check, or it's per employee that's being paid on that payroll. So if you have inactive employees, part-timers that aren't working that payroll, we're not going to charge for those. It's only people actually being paid on that payroll. So this includes your live checks and direct deposits. It's usually a couple dollars. So that's the only thing that's going to fluctuate based off of, the size of your company when it comes to payroll.
So a couple dollars per check. Are you at like $100 base, or where you guys land?
That generally ranges between about $60 to $90, I believe.
Okay. And so then I'm going to break that down into non-payroll terms. That is very comparable to anybody else I work with, as well as like it depends on what level of ADP you're on, but that's pretty comparable payroll fees. So his 60 to 90 per run, and probably $2 to $3 per check. We always say it as per check, but that counts. It's really per payment. Check, direct deposit, or pay card. What's nice about that is that, like he just said, you're not getting charged for anybody that's in the system that's not getting paid. The downside of that is you have no incentive to keep your damn system clean and make employees inactive when they're inactive. That's a big problem we encounter when it's a per payment or per check pay. If you're being billed what they call PEPM, per employee per month, you're incentivized to keep that system clean. So you get those inactive people out of there. So Marcy, I hope that answers that question. And again, I encourage anybody that wants to know more. It doesn't cost you anything to schedule a demo and a deep conversation to get a real proposal for that. I've
Yeah.
not found John to be overly pressuristic on his sales, just like me. You know, if you want a quote from me, I'm going to meet with you, make sure you're a good fit for us. We're a good fit for you. I'll give you a quote and then I'll be very upfront and honest. I'm not very good at the follow through of the back end. I don't push you into hiring us. So, anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just on that point, we typically go through sort of a discovery phase. We would analyze your needs, your wants, show you the software. I typically develop a full business case and that return on investment. If it's something that will be, something that you would really want to see, particularly our larger agencies. And then we couple that with the pricing. So no need for a commitment in order to get a pricing proposal. It's just we want to make sure we have the right products on there for you and that it's fitting your needs. Don't want to have too many products on there where it's like, whoa, we don't need all that, or too few products where it's like, hey, you know what, that would actually benefit us a lot. So we make it completely custom to you. So while we were talking there, I moved over to our ACA tracking platform. So, we got a lot of feedback from current clients over the years of, what they want out of their ACA tracking. Like Amy said, people don't even know that ACA is running in the background. They don't even know if they have it. They just know like, oh yeah, I think my provider does their 1095s. Half the time that's the answer that I get. But they want a little more insight, like what the heck's going on behind the scenes? What are they doing? What can I do with the ACA tracking? So we made complete customized dashboards here where you're going to see all the information literally tracking in real time. So this is tied into our payroll. So it's going to pull in the hours every single payroll run to show your full-time equivalents and full-time employees. It's going to show you, if you're hitting your 50 ALE status, you're a typical large employer where you need to offer benefits. You can click into any of these bars and see the data that's there. So we're going month by month, January through December. You can see how many hours they average each month to see, if they're a full-time equivalent and you need to offer them benefits. And then you can click into their profile and make the changes there. You can export any of these as I go through and show you into a CSV file, and you can manipulate it, send it out, download it, whatever you need to do. You can even click into the next month and it'll show you February. Very intuitive dashboard here. Here in the employee summary, we're seeing how many people are missing a benefit category, how many are missing an ACA status, or missing an offer altogether. Now we kind of break out some of these into charts here. This is the bar chart. I kind of like the numbers just to see the numbers, how many full-time, part-time, and then these are your employees that are in that initial measurement period as a new employees. And then you can click in and see those actual individual employees again on a monthly basis. You can see what employment type they are designated as. And one of the major differences with our system compared to any others is the majority of your providers and maybe nurses that their schedules fluctuate from sort of that part-time, full-time fluctuation when they might be part-time for 3 months, full-time for a month or two. We are assigning them as a variable employee so that we're measuring them at all times to see if they're hitting full-time status. And that'll be, of course, based off of your measurement period. Again, here's your export to see that information in export. And then your affordability. Next, we're showing, whether you're offering affordable or not affordable insurance. We're tracking that as well. Not something that you're probably popping into all the time, but it's there. And then your employment status. So enrollment status. You're enrolled or waived, and anyone that hasn't been enrolled at all yet. So again, your month to month, you can see if they're enrolled or not. You can pop through and export that and see all that information. Oh, you know what? I didn't click into this yet. So seeing all these missing offers and whatnot, you can really see a good look at these by not only your charting here by month, but you can click in to see who's missing their benefit category, see a full list, who's missing their ACA status, see all their designations, who's missing an offer, and you can export that information, go into their profile, whatever you need to do. And then lastly, is your benefit category. So we're just showing, what categories you've designated for your employees that they can fall into, and how many you have of each, so that you can make sure you're, properly offering or not offering benefits based off of maybe their type of position or whether they're part-time, full-time. Amy, anything that you see, on this dashboard that either you've never seen before or might be very useful from your perspective?
I'm still of the camp waiting for ACA to go away. So, I think this is all very valuable. I see this as being a valuable tool in two perspectives. A, very large employers that are managing, either making sure they're offering affordable care and it's all being measured and everything because they have to do the reporting, or which they still have to do the reporting, or those that are measuring, and I don't see it here, but I think you might have it, maybe not. But anyways, you could measure what's my exposure, what's my penalty for not offering versus like just show me that because I know what it's going to cost to go get it. I know that's an analysis that a lot of large employers do. But then the other thing that this hits on, which is the smaller end, are those that are right there at the cusp. Are you over or under that? That are you an ALE or not? And measuring that can be very, very sticky. But again, like I said, I'm still of the camp that it's going to go away, but that's a promise Trump couldn't keep.
Yeah. Well, we have it. We have
I
to
don't think it's
track
going,
it.
I don't think it's going anywhere now. So I think
Yeah.
we need to get more serious about it.
I don't think either. But yeah, this is that area where you're going to have that real-time tracking of your full-time equivalents. You might be 200 employees, 250 employees, 300 employees, but you have so many part-timers that you're like, oh, I'm not an ALE. I don't need to offer benefits. Maybe you do offer benefits because you want to attract, and retain your employees. But if you don't offer benefits and you think you're not an ALE because you have so many part-timers, well, the average of all those hours from your part-timers could hit you into the 50 employee
Yes.
ALE status, and we're tracking it. So you're going to be compliance no matter what, because you can make those changes and know exactly what's going on in your business. You're not just guessing.
Yeah, this should not be an after the fact, oh, I need to deal with this. This is something you should be aware of, and this gives you a tool to monitor it. That's automated because you guys don't even want to know the kind of stuff we have to go through to produce 1095s for clients that don't have it automated. It's
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah. Little do you know, your CPA hates doing it.
Oh, I have one I have to do this year, and then the rest are out of here. And I guess I really have two now that I think about it. But anyways, I'm not doing it next year. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
question, is that the end of the demo? Because I had a thought that that I haven't covered that I kind of want to talk about real quick before everybody wants to jump off.
Yeah, I can quickly pop into the onboarding platform. I'll make this
Yeah.
one quick, 5 minutes or less. But pretty much the basis of our onboarding platform, what makes it different is we are able to digitize every single piece of paper that you have in your onboarding packet. Your employee handbook, your policy pages, signature pages, maybe a TB screening, something very specific to your organization, something specific to the industry that you need to administer, not just your typical I-9s and W-4s and everything that every company needs to administer. We scan in your documents and we digitize it, and we create custom fillable blanks where they can type in. They have check boxes, drop down pick lists, and then everything is completed with an e-signature. So you'll see here, Jamie has started her onboarding documents similar to what Amy said earlier. They're going to get a username and password to their email. They're going to log in. They're going to see all this information either on their desktop or on their cell phone. It is mobile friendly. So if they don't have a desktop, they don't have to have that issue. They can do all these documents on their phone. Looks like Jamie filled out the work opportunity tax credit screening, and he is eligible for a $2,400 tax credit. So just based off of his answers from the electronic 8850 screening that's built into this, it's not a separate platform like you'll see a lot of payroll providers have. You'll have to pay for a different platform. You'll pay 10 to 15% of the credit. You have it all built into this platform, and you can submit the order right here. Literally, like I said, $3.99. You fill in your information, boom, you submit it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to log into a website. You don't have to type in all their answers. You don't have to fill out a whole form. It's all in the system here, ready to go. If you're, we have, the demographic of this industry, might not be super technologically savvy. We understand that. So we have some workarounds for that. We have ways to automate an email address if they don't even have an email address so that they can utilize this platform. If they are having some trouble with their platform, like you see here, Jamie hasn't completed a lot of his documents, but it's going to automatically email him and you that they need to log in and still complete some of their documents as a reminder. And then if you notice that it's been a while, Jamie hasn't touched anything, you might want to give him a call. And he's like, I just didn't really know how to do this or that. You can actually go in and help him with these documents. I even have clients, this is a two-way authentication, employer and employer, but I have clients that have maybe a laptop, tablet, computer up in their lobby so that they can help employees that if they have a large demographic of employees that would be, have a difficulty with doing this electronic, you can have still, your HR or receptionist staff help out with the onboarding, but still keep it digital. You're logging in, see all of their documents that they're filling out. They say this is the first section, it's save and continue, boom, it drops down to the next section that they need to fill out. Here's a document that was needed for an e-signature. So this was more or less a custom offer letter from this client that we put in the system, and they can e-sign it easily. And then here's your work opportunity tax credit 8850, all the questions that they need to fill out, and just sort of a yes or no. If it's a yes, they fill in a little bit more information, it drops down, but very easy to fill that out. And it's really, it captures a lot more credits because it's built into the same platform. They don't have to log into something else. They're not like, why am I doing this? They're just like, boom, boom, boom. They're filling out their documents, and it's the next one there. You're going to maximize the credits that you're going to get. One little thing to note is that it's a 28-day window after new hire. You have to submit these within 28 days. So if it's a cumbersome task for you, you don't get around to it, you're not going to get the credit. If it's an easy thing through the system like this, you just click submit order and boom, it's done. You're going to get every credit.
Couple things. You said this, but you said it very quickly, and I want to highlight it. The system has the ability to create an email address for any employee that doesn't have email, just for them to use this software. That's one of the challenges that arises sometimes when talking about going digital at this with provider services. So I think that was very key right there. And I love the idea of having a hub up front that you can help, help anybody that's having difficulty walk through it. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the provide onboarding assistance is very key for the demographic that's struggling to do something digitally like this. You can help them out, have that maybe the terminal up in your lobby. But as they fill out all their documents, you can see they start checking off. The last item is the I-9, of course. Once the I-9 is filled out by the employee, they'll just have to then come in and show you their documents, their two I-9 documents, their passport, and then you'll complete the employer side of the I-9, which will then send it out directly through our system through E-Verify. So you'll have your E-Verify account, and then in the employee profile, the HRIS system, it'll checkbox off in the eligibility section that they have been verified through E-Verify. Once that's done, that's the signifier that that employee is officially a new hire, they're in the system. All the information that they fill out during onboarding, everything that they're typing in themselves is going to be auto-filling and creating an employee profile in our HRIS system, where we briefly saw the pay history with Julia Norman. All that information is going to be pre-filled based off their answers. Every document that they fill out here will be created as a PDF and attached into that profile as well in the attachment section with a separate section for I-9. So easy to go through and find those documents. If you have an audit, you can either show the auditor through the system electronically or easily print those documents out if they want them on paper. Believe that's about all for the onboarding. I'll just briefly touch on the work opportunity tax credits. There's another little tab here that you can submit through multiple people that are eligible. Let's see, no one was sent through order. They'll show the order status. No one has been sent through recently since this is a live environment, and no one else has been here, but this is going to track the number of hours that each employee worked, since you get a partial credit at 120 hours worked for your company and a full credit at 400 hours. So it's going to track this throughout the entire year of how many earned credits you have, any potential credits still out there based off of them needing to work a little bit more hours to hit the full credit potential. And then you're just going to have a full picture of what your tax credits will be at the end of the year for that corporate tax credit.
Yeah, I like that. And sorry, somebody's outside my door.
Doggies went.
Yeah, we've got some really good questions.
Cool. Yeah, let's hit some questions. So I'm not sure why I can't see them.
It's because you're sharing your screen. It's fine. I got them. I got you. How long does an entity have access to the digital documents if they were to leave Viventium services? I think this is a great question. And you don't want to think of the negative, but I think it's very, very valid. What's your answer to that? How hard is it to get your information and download it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, no one wants to leave a provider, but you always have access to your data. So you're going to have a login with limited access to get all your reporting, all your pay stubs, all that documentation. So you'll always have access to that information. So that'll be very easy to pull. You can download those documents and just export them over to your system if you want to just keep those digital in the PDF form.
So even after they terminate, their login stays active for a period of time, or?
I mean, all the pertinent information that is needed for them, as far as like reporting and all of like their data, like that information, that's held in there indefinitely.
Okay.
I'd
I
have to
will
double check on the actual PDF attachments if there's maybe a 6-month window. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to look into that, because that is, maybe some room in the cloud that is being, storing
Yeah.
all this information. I'd have to see if that does expire at some point, but we're going to definitely give you enough time to download that information to your own desktop.
And kind of my 2 cents from a CPA perspective is what I recommend is, as new hires are hired, you download their entire, it's still in PDF, but you download that and store it somewhere in your server or your cloud system, like whatever your folder structure is. And then same thing with the payroll reports. So what we do for our clients that we manage their month to month accounting, we actually, so my entire storage system is online. And because I need your payroll reports, we're going to download them anyway. So we're going to save them and save them in a folder for you. And then again, I had a call with a prospect yesterday, and I showed them, if you were to ever leave, our entire file cabinet, if you will, can be downloaded in one click. It downloads everything. It's all zipped. But I recommend, especially with the new hire packets, which then this goes into the next question that we have. I really recommend on the new hires downloading each new hire as they're onboarded. I know that's a lot, and maybe it's a once a month deal, but to me, I think it's important to keep that stuff, because you got to keep that for a long time. So then the next question is, do we still need an employee file for HR surveyors and annual EMR, NAR? I'm not sure what that is. My question there is, you need a file, but it be in digital, so it be in a PDF file is absolutely acceptable. Very important for going paperless. Yes, it is.
Yep.
So you can definitely have that in a PDF file, and that would work. Can you send out, I like this question as well. Can you send out through kind of the notification system or whatever, and then I'll come right back to the screen you're on. Can you send out required monthly in-services? So does the system have the capability to send out mass, kind of like mass messaging, but coupled with, well, that would probably be that learning management system to
Exactly.
set up an in-service and say, hey, you must take this.
Exactly. Yep. So you're going to have everything set up through that learning management system with your monthly in-service trainings. It's going to have notifications. It's all going to be through the app. So it's a whole module through the employee self-service app, where that's the same app that they're viewing their pay stubs and their W-2s and requesting PTO. It's all integrated in that app. So that was an important thing that when we brought on this partner is, hey, is it going to be as easy as it is with you standalone? Yes, it's going to be all part of one single sign-on with Viventium. And yep, to answer your question, Amy, and our viewers' question is, yes, they'll have a full, kind of breadth of the in-service trainings that you need them to perform. They'll get a notification. You'll get progress reports. You'll get, notifications that they've completed them. They'll get certificates at the end of it. You'll get reports, what they've completed. So you can say, hey, they did this on their phone in the comfort of their home, at 7 p.m. at night, just to get these trainings out of the way when they're not, at someone's house and working on the clock. And you can still pay for them, because you're going to get those reports of all the training hours that they completed, and you'll be able to, properly pay out that training rate. Another really important thing about this learning management system is it's not just a per employee per month charge. This is a per training hour charge. So your hours never expire. You're going to pay for a number of hours that you need your employees to complete. Maybe it's 12 hours per year per employee. You can do your own calculation, how many hours I'm going to need, and you can pay for those hours up front at a discounted rate. You can do it monthly if you wanted, and you're never going to have those hours expire. They can roll into the next year, kind of like your AT&T rollover minutes back in the day when we didn't have unlimited minutes. And you don't have to pay per employee per month on a service that's not going to be used that often. So 9 times out of 10, it's cheaper than every other learning management system.
And if you haven't had experience with a learning management experience, a platform, and mine is very limited, but it's something I'm looking into. It's kind of a much down the road project, but man, what a resource those can be, because you can set up all of your training once and everybody follows the exact same training. So I'm thinking beyond in services. I'm talking about, let me just use my firm, right? So we do bookkeeping, right? Well, how do you record accounts payable? I can record that in a training with screenshots and all of my detailed instructions, and everybody, and then I don't have to train everybody. So it's kind of like, if you think about like when a new hire comes in, if they're not QuickBooks certified, I want them to go to QuickBooks Online and go start taking those certification courses. That's a learning management system. And it's just, especially as you scale and you get bigger, it's priceless to me. And I'm not forgetting about the screen that you're on about downloading documents. So it looks like it's very easy.
Just showing how easy it is to download all the documents. This is a current employee that completed their onboarding. That's still going to be in here. You can download individually. You can check off all of them and then just download them. Boom. You can request, upload, you can kind of do whatever you need to with these documents. They're always there.
So that's good. So I think that's important, definitely important. This is another good question, Marcy. I'm digging your questions. And I looked back into the chat because I figured it was from you. I know exactly where it's driven from. Here's the question, John, and you may not know the answer. And if not, I hope you'll get it. Does Viventium sell employee data?
No.
Okay. That comes because ADP has a company called Big Data, and they sell every bit of the employee data. And that
no, absolutely not.
Me out. I do not like that at all. So the answer is no. Great question. Emmanuel, I'm going to read your question exactly like it is, because I don't even know what it means. It says, does your system check LEEIE, and then it says OIG exclusions automatically? Oh, is that like blacklisted people?
Oh, for the recruiting portion.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess no. It probably does.
I don't believe our system is going to automatically scan for that.
I think if that's what I'm thinking, it's like people that are basically blacklisted from Medicare, Medicaid.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to automatically scan for that. I mean, I'm guessing that you'd want to enter their information into a database. It's going to scan for that, maybe on a website. I'm not even very familiar with that at all. But yeah, our system wouldn't do that. What our system would do is if we've had a client that, an applicant applied every 3 or 4 weeks, and they're tired of going through the same application process with this person. They don't remember that they've applied before, but our system's going to house all of that data in there and save their profile, and you're going to have all the notes on why you didn't hire them and why you're never going to hire them, and you'll be able to just eliminate them from even being in the equation of a new job opening, because you couldn't remember that they applied before.
Oh, that's good. That's nice. That's nice. All right. What else we got, John?
Any other questions there?
No other questions.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So, I'm not sure if do we have a couple more slides on the PowerPoint there? We could sort of wrap up.
Yeah. If you'll quit sharing, if you'll stop your share, I'll flip back over.
Perfect. There you go.
And
if any other questions, you think of something, type it in the Q&A there as we're wrapping up here, our last couple slides.
Yeah. So there's contact info for John. I really appreciate you being here. I think this was great. I don't know. I love being able to share people and resources that are impactful to me. To be fair, I was contacted by one of my payroll providers that I partner with, actually the one I sold our business to. When he saw this invite go out, he was a little bit upset. And my thing is, I want to have resources for those that come to me. And so this is a great resource. I don't I'm not married to any one brand. If you're really small and you want just straight payroll and just then I might have somewhere else to drive you, right? So it just depends on what you're looking for. But I think that our group that we had here, just looking at some of the names, was exactly the right audience for this. And I think there have been some great questions, and I love just the exposure. This is what I do, you guys. If you're a client of mine, you know we change something every year. So we just changed the accounts payable platform. And the way I knew of it was I sat in on a webinar, right? I get solicited with, hey, we're doing this conversation with this platform and blah, blah, blah. And you just so to bring awareness of what is out there, because I think a lot don't know what all resources are out there if you're not out looking for it. And again, I want to go back to just real quick, really how important it is to outsource your payroll and the time savings. But not only that, one thing I skipped over is QuickBooks. For you to produce payroll in QuickBooks for what I need for your proper financial statements, figuring cost of goods sold, cost of services, direct, whatever, cost per visit, I need it broken down. And yes, QuickBooks Desktop technically can do it, but you'll end up with 300 to 400 pay items. It's very messy, which makes your file super large, which then makes it run super slow, which is also not in the cloud. And then beyond that, QuickBooks Online, it can do it, but it doesn't do it very well whatsoever. QuickBooks Online is 20 employees or less, maybe. And even that, we're starting to force anybody with us that's on QuickBooks Online and uses payroll that way, you've got to outsource. It just doesn't give the reporting capabilities that we need. You need a payroll platform. And that's really more for my purpose of why I want you outsourcing. It's not to save you time, but it works better with we don't like manual work, right? And so it works better with what we do. Hold on, there's a couple of chat and I closed my little chat window.
Just to piggyback off that, Amy, something that we didn't address that maybe it's on people's minds. If you are using QuickBooks, you're probably using it for your payroll and your accounting and general ledger, and whatnot. You're still going to have your QuickBooks for your general ledger accounting. Yes. And we, from a payroll perspective, we actually have an API integration with QuickBooks Online and a custom mapping over to QuickBooks Desktop. So we're going to generate a payroll file at the end of payroll run that's going to automatically shoot all that information into your payroll. And we have also we have 3 different levels of details that we can.
Good. Because I was about to say, don't do that shit.
Yeah, we can do summary, but we could also do every line item depending on what you need, and we set that up during implementation.
And that's one of the things, like we manually enter it. I mean, it's a journal entry, and it's because it takes us just as long to export the file. But if it's an API integration, we would definitely look at that.
Yep.
And the one thing that I wrote a note I did not discuss, and I'm sorry, but you guys are hanging with us, the conversion process. A lot of people are scared to make a move because they think it's such a major ordeal. And it is, but it's not the same as doing a billing conversion by any means. And so my experience is the payroll company has always done the heavy lifting. And it depends on what system you're coming out of, but you can take a data dump and then transition it over. I don't know what your experience is with the payroll conversion. It doesn't have to be first of the year. It doesn't even have to be first of the quarter. I know a lot of people get held up with that.
Yeah, I can walk you through that process. And, that's a common thing, it's converting to a new software is scary. Maybe people have had terrible experiences in the past. I've heard horror stories from, again, I always bring them up, ADP. I think we have some people out there that don't like ADP as well. But yeah, we do a lot of the hand holding throughout the process. And, I've heard from, people that have converted to ADP that they don't. They're a huge corporation. We're a small smaller company, we do a lot of hand holding. We have, that one-on-one relationship, and we also have 4 people dedicated to you. We have myself, who would be kind of the liaison communicator, making sure everything from the entire process is communicated to our team throughout. I do a lot of the document collection, the tax documents, all that stuff. Then we move you to a sales coordinator on our sales coordination team that will do all the pulling of data from your current system, whether it's ADP Paychecks, QuickBooks, any other payroll company. We're going to be able to pull that the year-to-date wages, the scheduled deductions, your employee demographic information, your direct deposits. We're going to verify that information with you, and then we assign you an implementation specialist. You have a dedicated specialist that will have a welcome call with you, quarterback you through the process, answer any questions, have any outstanding items, anything that's specific to your company that we want to accomplish that we configure during the process. They'll configure the system. They'll train you on the payroll, and they'll run the first payroll with you. You'll also have a training specialist dedicated to you for the majority of the ancillary products like onboarding and applicant tracking and benefit enrollment and things of that nature. So you'll have those 4 reps all the way through. They'll share the screen, the implementation specialist, to run that first go live payroll with you. And then they'll stay with you for 1, 2, or even 3 more payrolls, depending your comfortability level, until you're 100% comfortable. And here's the one main point that I didn't even talk about yet. We don't just have an outsourced customer service, location in the middle of nowhere. They're located in Northern New Jersey, and they're actually a team health services dedicated rep to you. So we literally only have people on that team that deal with home care, home health, hospice, skilled nursing, assisted living, the whole 9 yards. They know your lingo, they know the industry, they know the challenges and the complications that you run into in payroll, because they're running into the same, answering questions for other clients. And so that's one of the main differences with our customer service team is you have a dedicated rep, and you have 3 to 4 people backing them on that team. So they're going to typically know your account too. So if they're out on launch, PTO, sick, whatever, anyone's going to be able to help you out on that team, but you're going to have a dedicated rep that's going to be your go-to person after you get transition out of implementation. And just one other question always comes up: how long does this take? I'd say for any company that's under 200 employees, probably 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the quality of the data coming out of your old system. If it's a big mess, if we find tax errors, we recently found some huge tax errors from someone coming out of, I want to say it's ADP, but it could be, I can't really remember. And it's a mess. It's taking, several more weeks before they can do their year-end tax filing in a couple of weeks. If you're over 200 employees, like 200 to 600, maybe you're probably looking at like 6 to 8 weeks, and then, maybe 8 to 10 weeks for anything bigger than that. Just really based off the complexity of the setup and how many products we're setting up for you.
Okay. What if you're a company of less than 50 employees? I think it fits. I mean, based on their pricing model, but probably that 4 to 6 time frame.
Yeah, it really depends where you are. I mean, this is my recommendation. I'm never going to say like you have to switch to us. Like I'm going to I'm going to recommend where you are in your life cycle of your agency. If you've been around a while, you're at that 30, 35, 40 employee, and you're just hovering there, but you hate what you have now, I'd recommend moving over. If you love what you have now, you're 30, 35, 40, and you are never going to grow above 50 employees, you might want to stay there. It's up, depending on what you're utilizing now. Amy can recommend. If you're a brand new company and you're looking for a payroll provider to start out, I'd probably go with us so that you can grow your company and not have to worry about any of these challenges throughout the entire growth of your company. If you're like 10, 15 employees and you're like, you know what, I'm fine with what I have now. It works, but it's not taking me long. It's taking me 15 minutes to run payroll. Well, by the time you're 50 employees, it's going to take you 2-3 hours to run payroll. So that's when I start having those conversations. When you're at 35, 40 employees, you're starting to transition into that. Am I an ALE? What other complications am I going to run into? If you're on ADP, you have to switch to a whole new platform anyway at 50 employees.
Yep.
It's literally a whole new implementation. It's not just,
it's like changing payroll companies.
Yeah.
It's not the same as just an upgrade.
So yeah, I always recommend, I don't say like you have to switch to us. I'm never going to hard sell you on switching to us. I'm going to recommend what is going to be best for you.
And I would say also, what about if you've got multiple entities?
Yes, great question. And too bad I don't have it still screen sharing, but at the top banner of our screen, there's a search bar, and then next to it is a drop down. You actually might have seen me click the drop down to our home health demo code. Really, that's the divisions drop down. You can have multiple divisions or FEINs in there. We'll set you up. We actually have 5 different levels of cost centers where you can have FEIN, you can have location, you can have departments, jobs, and whatever else you need to track. So in that drop down, I have companies that have 4 different locations and they want to manage them separately. They have like a manager at each one and they only want them to access that and not other things. We can have security roles. They can only jump into that one division, or if it's a super user, the owner, they want to monitor all 4, obviously they'll have that drop down to choose which one they want to see. You can pull reporting on each individually, you can pull reporting on all 4, you can pull reporting on 2 of them, whatever you need to do. You manage it very easily from multiple location, multiple division, whether it's locations, whether you want to split off your admin staff from your field staff, your providers. There's tons of different setups that we can have for you to make it really easy to manage.
Cool. All right. I don't see anything else. I didn't share my screen of contact info, but you'll have it. You've gotten lots of emails from me by this point. I will like to say this. There is one person online, if she hasn't dropped. We've had a couple of people drop off just in the last few minutes. Let me see if she's still here. Yep, she dropped off. She contacted me on Facebook because she saw the event, but she has not engaged in any of my emails. And so my software, my marketing software excluded her. So she was no longer getting our emails about what we were doing. And I think to engage, this is kind of a marketing question, all you got to do is like click on one every once in a while and you stay engaged in our system so that we don't get blacklisted for spamming. So like if you never click on something, so I would encourage you when you see our emails come through, and same from John, right? Just click on it, just click on it, open it. You don't have to click through, but if you show that you've looked at it, that our back end marketing, he's on Salesforce, I'm on HubSpot, it knows that you've at least looked at it. It'll keep you on our mailing list. So just a little side note, FYI. But again, all of my materials go on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Knight CPA Group. You'll see it. Everything most recent. I'm trying to learn how to organize. I'm a little bit new on there. If you subscribe to that channel, you'll get alerted anytime I upload stuff. And even if I'm uploading a message to like clients, like, hey, this new development just came out in PPP, I think you guys need to read it, because I've started doing that instead of emails. It goes out there. So that kind of gives you all my little news clips, if you will. So I encourage you to do that. And then I did have one more on the time to convert. Think about your plans. And if you're planning on scaling, this is my approach. I would rather convert before I scale than once I'm midway into it. So like our accounts payable platform, I said, okay, look, I plan on scaling that because we're really growing. I'd rather convert now when I have 10 clients than next summer when I have 20, which is the plan. Yeah, whatever works out to be. So that's kind of my viewpoint, John, on that. Like if you plan on scaling it, I'd rather convert when I'm small, or it gives you a lot of time, right? So let's say, well, by the end of this 2021, I don't plan to be at 50 yet. Well then, but maybe at 30 employees, then maybe 1/1 next year is a good conversion date. So just kind of do some planning around it. Whatever you do, try not to rush it. You don't want a rushed payroll conversion.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable, if if your goal for the next 12 months is to double in size or add 20 employees, whatever it may be, that's going to get you into a position where you're going to need a new system. Do it now. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to go have a couple meetings. We have to make sure we get the right products for you. We have to go through pricing. We have to go through implementation. It's going to be a 2-month process, just, generally, around
Yeah.
2 months and in the first place. So if you're, trying to project 2 months out, start it now. Also, you implement a new software, you want to get used to it, obviously, and make sure you work out the kinks. You have all the information in there, you have it ready to go. So while you have the time now, get it all set up, ready to go. And then once you're really moving and growing, it's just going to be so much easier for you.
And that's my thought too. Then your scalability is going to go so much quicker because you've automated so much already. Another thing, a side note, look how sophisticated you look to employees. That's kind of now I'm in a professional services, right? So when I'm attracting talent, I gotta look sharp. And to me, it helps having a really good system.
Yeah. when I onboarded with Viventium, we used the same system, and I just did all my documents on my phone. It was ready to go. I went in, I showed them my 2 documents. I'm like, I'm ready to work already. Like literally didn't even have to go in the office, do anything. I'm like, boom, you're ready to work. It looks awesome. One thing that I was thinking about that we didn't touch base on was if you do move mid-year and we're pulling all those year-to-date wages, and I mentioned that sometimes we catch, wrong, tax filings, or, didn't have a deduction for this or that. It was pulling too much or too little. We're going to fix those for you. We do a
Yeah.
free tax audit. So when, clients that are coming over right now, running their first payroll beginning of December, they get all of their 2020 data in the system. It looks like they're with us the entire year, pay stubs, reporting, all that. And we know that all their data is completely 100% ready to go for their year-end filing, because it's now our responsibility. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure it's perfect before we file that on your behalf, so that's not coming back on us. So that's, nomenclature, whatever that word is, that people misconception, that you can't move mid-year, even if it's Q2. We're pulling in all Q1. We're going to file your Q2. Your Q1 will be with your previous provider. We'll do your Q1 2. And then we'll do your year-end filing, Q2, 3, 4, year-end, and we'll do the year-end because we have your Q1 pulled from your previous provider.
What about extra fees for year-end tax filings and documents? How do you guys do quarterly taxes and W-2s?
Yeah,
Is there a fee for that?
Good question. Quarterly tax filings are included in the service. There's a one-time flat tax filing fee for the year-end tax filing, and then the W-2s or 1099s are a per employee basis.
Which is standard across all.
Yeah.
Even my monthly service, we try to bundle everything. I cannot bundle your 1099s. You might have 10, you might have 200. And
Yeah.
so we have a
It's a lot of work.
charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because I got to go to the little girl's room.
You know what? I have one last thing, Amy.
Okay.
I should have made a slide for this, but we are running a promotion. If you were to switch your payroll over to Viventium by the end of January 2021, we're giving 10% off the payroll service right now. So I wanted to put that up there. We're going to send a follow-up email with that included in there, some of the details on it. But you'll get 10% off your payroll service. In total, not just the year of 2021, it'll be indefinitely. Your whole package payroll service will be 10% off.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. How long does it last? The whole?
Yeah, the breadth of your service. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Great incentive. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody joining us. I love talking to you guys. I wish I could see everybody. I kind of thought about this morning. I was like, I wish I could do what Zoom calls a large meeting. So then everybody's there and can kind of talk. But I did see I can let people talk. I didn't know that. Kind of playing around. But anyways, I appreciate you guys. We'll follow up. Everybody have a great rest of your week and a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, New Year. And let's get 2020 on out of here. I'm having a huge New Year's Eve party at my house to wish it goodbye. So anybody in Austin, John, you're in Austin, come on out. I mean, we're out in Travis, a little bit of a drive for you. But anyways, awesome. Thank you guys. We'll follow up. Everybody take care.
Thanks, everyone. Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.